Welcome to Positive Atheism English channel. Today, from the book Why I Am an Atheist, a series of lectures by Madeleine Murray O'Hair, an American atheist. Today, I shall continue from the last episode. Anyone who wants to argue the Bible can go ahead. It is not seriously considered anymore by any scholars of any intellectual repute. And if we did not have this Bible to argue over, there would be the Quran or the Veda or the Torah. The thing we must do is simple: throw the whole thing out of the window. God never wrote a book simply because there is no God. How can you say that, you ask? Wouldn't it be better if you said you didn't know one way or the other? Why don't you admit that you are an agnostic? Well, simply elementary, my dear Watson. Let me tell you in one word the difference between an atheist and an agnostic. The difference is guts. I lose more agnostic friends by saying that, but let's go into detail again. The term agnostic was coined by Sir Thomas Huxley in 1869. He designed a word which would indicate the exact opposite of Gnosticism. Since the prefix a in words of Greek derivation of times is a privative, that is giving to the word a negative sense, he coined the word agnostic or agnosticism. He was apparently studying Gnosticism at the same time. Gnosticism was an eclectic system of philosophy and religion which flourished during the first 6 centuries of the present era. It sought to mediate between Christianity and paganism, from which Christianity was derived, and it taught that knowledge more than philosophy or more than faith was a means of salvation. According to this doctrine, all existence, both spiritual and material, originated in the deity by successive emanations or waves. Well, here we are back again to the same question I talked about before. Mind or matter, which came first? The Gnostics solved it by saying that each came in waves. First came mind and then came matter. Then came mind and then came matter. These emanations or waves were called eons, and Christ was conceived to be only a higher eon than ordinary man. One simple doctrine was that emancipation, whatever that meant at that time to those poor serfs and peasants in Europe, came from knowledge or gnosis. The possession of this gnosis saved the ancient from the dreadful clutch of matter. The gnosis or knowledge which they sought was no obscure that Huxley apparently was scoffing at it, and in scoffing at that he was scoffing at the type of knowledge which was present in Huxley's own day and is even present now. Let me read to you now just a wee little paragraph of knowledge from the Gnostics' Book of the Savior. Here we go. Prepare yourself. And they that are worthy of the mysteries which lie in the ineffable are prior to the first mystery, and also prior to the 3 statements which follow after them, that all is myself. I am the treasure of all men. Well enough of that nonsense. That's knowledge. And so technically, agnostics are those persons who do not believe in this kind of knowledge, and we feel that it is relative and uncertain. They know that salvation will not come in this way. Huxley was more than a sarcastic wit. According to the Bible, when Paul visited Athens, he admonished the people for a statue he found there. In Acts 17:23, he says, "As I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription to the unknown God." Huxley believed apparently that God was as unknowable in 1869 as he had been in the time of Paul, and as Paul could well have done, Huxley coined a word for his phenomenon, God the Great Unknown. But popularly, the word has been corrupted, probably deliberately corrupted, as the words atheist and materialist have been corrupted, and by the same persons, the very powerful religionists. Popularly, the word agnostic is felt to mean that the nature of God cannot be known, but that there is a God. Therefore, the agnostic is accepted in the community and he is accepted by the church. Agnosticism is very closely related to the religious doctrine that the ways of God are unfathomable and human reason is fallible, and that man requires a different non-scientific path to the truth. Agnostic philosophers as distinguished from the man on the street, agnostics are always allies of the church. The reason is that agnosticism, which puts forward the false notion that the world is unknowable, undermines science and reinforces theology. It inclines man to faith, inducing him to trust religious doctrines. The test is always the same. Does the church accept the existence of the creed? If it does, then the creed is not one which is an opposition to religion. The church does not anathematize the agnostic. Thomas Huxley later wrote that he regretted coining the word because of the widespread misuse of the term of the public. That is what this atheist is and what I believe. An atheist is a materialist, a person who simply is free from theism. The second question always asked is, how did you get that way? That is an exciting story too, and the subject of my second speech will be given later this afternoon. Thank you all for your attention. And this concludes the first book, a series of lectures by Madeleine Murray O'Hair. And with this, we end the book, Why I Am an Atheist, written by Madeleine Murray O'Hair. Thank you.
Please download Samaram multi-channel app and watch your favorite channels from your mobile. App available on Google Play Store and subscribe to the channels. For more videos, please subscribe to this channel Positive Atheism and activate the bell icon.